Alrighty, I'm back at it. It's been a very long time for a good reason. Work things got in the way. Full time on one project, solving hard problems, and had to come in and help write another project. Carrying on with some other stuff behind the scenes, but thankfully we're through the thick of that. I'm back at it, and hopefully this is all recording well. I've got a new mic on the work computer. Anyway, you don't want to hear me ramble about those things. Let's get into some interesting stuff. I've got some code here. I think I last left off trying to do that basic RAG concept where I was going to take video transcripts, unstructured data, I think is becoming the term here, and run them through a little series of process, a little bit of code to basically extract the video, get the transcript. The idea is expanded. I've actually found an immense amount of utility in this little thing, just from work, recording work meetings, pulling up points, Zoom's data, taking its transcript, merging the two. It's kind of pushing me into a different direction here than just trying to understand a RAG concept. I'm trying to actually build a little utility to help me kind of ideate. It's faster for me to speak than it is for me to type a whole lot of stuff. I think there's value in being able to do these live streams, talk about things, get the transcripts, process it, and put it into some of the bigger picture stuff I'm working on. I'm pretty idealistic and ambitious, so right now I am working on two books. It was started as one, and kind of realized there's two different audiences there. Given my background, I'm both kind of a doer and a manager, so I want to take both those perspectives here. And like I did with TDD Buddy, I want it to be that kind of buddy feel. Let's lay it out. Let's help people understand this space. So to that end, I'm working on one called kind of the AI Engineer's Handbook. Just lays out the landscape, explores some basic RAG and agentic concepts, things I've played with, but I'd like to play a little bit more, put a little bit more of that down. And the best way to do that is to do. And then I can take that and start rolling that into some of these chapters. Not that writing's super daunting, but it takes time, and it'd be nice to have a bit of a jumping off point that maybe I could refine from. After all, the whole goal here is to integrate AI into my life. Anyway, back to some very uninteresting looking stuff. So here's the text harvester and then the text importer. So remember, this is the thing that was doing the Elasticsearch lifting, and we didn't really get good results at the end. But I found a really huge amount of value in this little text transcriber, the thing that pulls YouTube videos or local files. Which is going to push me into a slightly different direction, where we're going to press a little bit of pause on getting directly into the RAG stuff, and we're going to dig a little bit more into possibly bringing a copilot coding assistant in. I don't know if it's going to be as good as just plunking it into GPT, but I think there's value there, because the whole goal is to drive this out with AI. You really integrate hard against AI, see if it can accelerate and grow. And so a lot of value here. I think the thing I need to do is put a small UI around this and ship it up to kind of being hosted in Azure. Why Azure? Because they give you free credits for blob storage and things like that. Ideally this is going to decompose. It's only like 100-something lines of Python, which sounds silly, but I can see a few different processes. There's like, hey, get the audio if you need to. Split the audio if you need to. Transcribe the audio segment. Reassemble it. I would say almost each one of these is a separate function. I mean, this is negating the obviously just upload it and go, but I think that would just be the fetching. That's the only step that's going to go away there. The rest of the key steps exist. Considering I want to drive this through functions, because this actually feels like a really good use case for functions. They're small, they're discrete. I'm mostly certain that I can get an AI coding assistant of some variety, whether it's copy and paste, to just help me break this up, decompose it. I've got a pretty good idea what it needs to look like, so it's not like it's going to get much by me. But leaning into that concept, obviously need Docker images here. I've got some kind of low-level stuff that had to be installed. That's okay. Gives me the opportunity to play with functions and Docker images. There's a variety of different ways to just that's the first one that came to mind. Nice little discrete units we can package up, deploy. And ideally, the AI coding stuff doesn't get in the way. I'm really leaning into this idea of being able to decompose a piece of code into small, discrete modules. I think it's much easier for the LLM to rationalize about that. It's much easier for me to rationalize about that. And we're sticking with Python because I know it's pretty good at Python and it's working. Whatever. I've written in enough different languages over the years that it doesn't faze me too much. But anyway, it's up. I did a little change. I converted everything over to M4A audio just because I think it's a higher fidelity. I'm going to get better transcripts. I've got a README here with some ideas on kind of how I want to utilize this. Because ultimately, this is a tool for my personal workflow. I think as we get deeper into the Gen AI space and more folks start to understand the value of unstructured data, there might be more requests in this space. And the LangChain can do all this. There's no reason why, there is a reason. Frameworks are actually getting in the way. That's the one thing I discovered when I ended the last series. It's a lot of what the framework can do, I could probably just do myself. There's very little magic there. And the frameworks are maturing, and it's been a few months, and there might be new things, and there might be advantages of integration and cloud monitoring and some of the things that are coming out in these books that are driving my school of thought. Oh yeah, the other book I didn't mention is AI Project Engineering, Integrating AI into Software, which mainly focused on Gen AI, but a little bit of traditional AI. Got some experience there. And just how do we go about managing projects with this stuff in? What are the things we need to consider? How do we operate these platforms? Just trying to lend some guidance, some thought as people continue to find themselves immersed in this space. That's all the goal is with this, just to help lead the path, lead the way. Anyway, we've got a plan, we got some code, things are working pretty good. I'll just fire this up, I guess. I just broke it. Let's get the right sequence of commands. You can see I was just playing with it. I'm just going to run it through. Let me just delete that. Yeah, it's already going to say it's got the stuff. It's like, hey, I already have it. I don't need to do anything. I did have to do a little bit of changing. Open source. It's all out there on GitHub. GitHub/trav, and you should see this under. Oh gosh, where should you see this under? You know what? Let me just get there. Let's just bring it up. There's my wonderful picture. Shields All Sport up in Loveland. Where am I going? Oh yeah, that's AI songs. Might talk about that. I also have a little metal album about my cat using generative AI. I will probably talk about that somewhere. I'm not sure if it's going to be a blog post, maybe a live stream. I don't know, maybe some other format. I'll be talking about that there. If I go to the repositories here, it's under Video Scribe. All right, I think I'm going to be changing that name, but if you want to see the source code, it's here. Feel free to clone it, do your thing. It's nothing too impressive. Just a tinker project, hopefully setting an example. Anyway, I think when we get a little bit more into the rag, things are built out. You can run it as a bit of a personal project. Sorry, you're probably not going to terraform the resource creation. Oh no, just extra work at this stage. I'm sure there's value in it, but it's just a couple clicks. I'll just do that off screen, set things up, make my life just slightly easier. But the code will be there effectively. You could spin it up and run it locally. That's the whole goal. So what did I have to change? I had to change just a little bit about the download audio. It has to get the subprocess run, take the result, look for a particular string in the output. That's not great, but it's better than just scanning the file system for the nearest file match, which was causing all sorts of weird and wonderful problems. And you can see this is running in the background. It's pulling the audio. This is the latest GPT for Me episode. I've been advised by some very smart folks who know more about YouTube than I do that it's worthwhile putting a small description and then as much of the transcript you can fit. Or in this case, I'm trying to do a lengthy summary to kind of fill most of that space for search engine type things that need to happen. So it pulls it out. It works. The reason this fails, if it already exists, is it says it's there. It can't resave it. So kind of dies there, which is, it'll be a moot point as this kind of evolves into more of a function-driven process. I could theoretically keep it this way, but it's really restricted to my machine, and there's not as much utility there. And I'd like to open this idea up to potentially other folks and make this slightly more accessible, and kind of continue to lean in this idea of like decomposing into small like pipeline-y type steps here. I think this is a very like pipeline type thing. It's clearly a data conversion type of process, so it makes sense. So once this is up and we've spun through and we've got that in the cloud using some coding tools, remember it's GPT with me, I'm going to turn my attention back over to the text importer, and we can start to explore the wonderful world of the RAG landscape. I've got a lot more information than when I last tried to tackle this. Validation that like just a pure vector database probably isn't the right solution, and maybe leaning into the full text search isn't the worst idea in the world. But there's a space to play, maybe create hybrids. Maybe there's ways of figuring out how to screen grab key frames out of the video too and put that in. And now I have this kind of multimodal RAG type system for unstructured data. Seems like a fun concept. I'll see utility, at very least in my life, as I continue to build out these various channels through books, blogs, live streams, probably a podcast in my future somewhere along the lines. Maybe personally, maybe through work, maybe a bit of both. I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts. I want to talk about them. And it seems as though, based on what I'm seeing, you folks want to hear that too, which is great. Anyway, this is meant to just be a quick test, overview, kind of figuring out where I'm going, what's next, as I dive back into this space. Anyway, if you got thoughts, leave it in the comments. I hope you found this useful, and have a great